Hare Kṛṣṇa. Welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita, and today's topic is the sacrifice of hearing. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much for joining in this session. And today's topic is chapter 4, text 26 of Bhagavad Gita. So let's chant word by word. So repeat after me, and after that we will chant the line by line. Shrotra Adini Indriyani Anye Samyama Agnishu Juhvati Shabda Adin Vishayan Anye Indriya Agnishu Juhvati Shrotraadinindriyanyanye Samyamagnishu Juhvati Shabdadin Vishayananya Indriyagnishu Juhvati Shrotraadinindriyanyanye Samyamagnishu Juhvati Shabdadin Vishayananya Indriyagnishu Juhvati Shrotraadinindriyanyanye Samyamagnishu Juhvati Shabdadin Vishayananya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. Shrotra Adini, such as the hearing process. Indriyani, senses. Anye, others. Samyama, of restraint. Agnishu, in the fires. juhvati, offer, shabda adin, sound, vibration, etc., vishayan, objects of sense gratification, anye, others, indriya, of the sense organs, agnishu, in the fires, juhvati, they sacrifice. So the translation here, it's slightly different than the original one. They added these brackets. So the original one just does not have the brackets, but in the purport you will see that is actually referring to them. So the unadulterated brahmacharis and then the regulated householders. So anyway, we'll read the translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Translation: some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So, before we go further, it's important to understand that everything here is compared to the actual fire sacrifice that we do, homa. So that is being compared with all the offerings and the offerables and the fire unto which it is offered. So the fire here, there are two things. In the fire of mental control, some sacrifice the hearing process and others sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So that is the regulated process of sense gratification. So anyway, we will read the purport, it becomes clear. Purport: the members of the four divisions of human life, namely the brahmachari, the grahastha, the vanaprastha and the sannyasi, are all meant to become perfect yogis or transcendentalists. Since human life is not meant for our enjoying sense gratification like the animals, the four orders of human life are so arranged that one may become perfect in spiritual life. The brahmacharis, or students under the care of a bona fide spiritual master, control the mind by abstaining from sense gratification. A brahmachari hears only words concerning Krishna consciousness. Hearing is the basic principle for understanding, and therefore the pure brahmachari engages fully in Hare Namanu Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. He restrains himself from the vibrations of material sounds, and his hearing is engaged in the transcendental sound vibration of Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Similarly, the householders who have some license for sense gratification perform such acts with great restraint. Sex life, intoxication and meat eating are general tendencies of human society, but a regulated householder does not indulge in unrestricted sex life and other sense gratification. Marriage on the principles of religious life is therefore current in all civilized human society, because that is the way for restricted sex life. This restricted, unattached sex life is also a kind of yajna, because the restricted householder sacrifices his general tendency towards sense gratification for higher transcendental life. So this is the sacrifice. Now, an important word here is, of course, the word brahmachari is not used in the verse, but in the purport, Śrīla Prabhupāda mentions that the first is referred to a brahmachari and the second is referred to the householder. But the word brahmachari means brahmacharati iti brahmachari. Brahmacharati. Brahma means spiritual. So charati means one who traverses or walks the path. of Brahma, of spiritual life. So, brahmacharati iti brahmachari. So, one who actually walks the path of spiritual life is a brahmachari. Of course, there is the ashram, brahmachari ashram, which refers to those who are celibate and who are in the Gurukul, under the care of the Guru, and serving as a menial servant. That as a brahmachari ashram is there. But anyone whose aim of life is Krishna and who is strictly following such rules to attain Krishna consciousness, he is also a brahmachari. Brahmacharati iti brahmachari. So, what is the key activity of brahmachari? As it is said here, Shrotradinindriyananye. Shrotra, the hearing process, they sacrifice the hearing process. Now, actually, this verse talks about mind control or sense control. Sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses, and then sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. So, sacrifice the senses or the sensory activities means what? Well, there is a version of this for the materialists. I will show you. This doesn't work, huh? We will do another way. Okay, I will just come a bit here. Okay, and then I'll move it aside. Now you see, there is this philosophy of the monkeys. This is sacrificing of the senses, but the monkey method of it. They say, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It's a monkey philosophy. Maybe it's good for the monkeys, but not for human beings. Because the problem with this is, although we say hear no evil, but by closing the ears, we will not hear anything, even the good. By seeing no evil, we will also not see the good also. And by speaking no evil, if we close our mouth, we will not speak anything also. So the good is not spoken, the bad is not spoken. So this method is for the impersonalists, the monkeys, because this applies to them. Because they just, shut out all the senses. That's not the process. And therefore, the devotees are called the devotees are called Hamsa. Why? They are like the swan. If you give a swan a mixture of milk and water, the swan only takes the milk and leaves in the water in the pot, in the jar, in the bowl. So that's a special thing about swan. So he can take the good and leave aside the bad. And therefore devotees are not compared to monkeys, they are compared to swans. So we don't want monkey philosophy. Hear no evil, speak no evil. Of course, we should not hear and speak, and we should not speak or hear or see evil. But we should understand what evil is from the right source, from Krishna. We should know. It's not that we should know by experience. That the idiots can do it. I mean, Mudha. Krishna himself said, Mudha. The rascals, they will go and actually experience it. And sometimes even after experiencing, they cannot understand the problem with it. But devotees are supposed to be intelligent. And intelligent means an intelligent person hears and understands. Not so intelligent person, he will see, then understand. He says seeing is believing. Okay. Other person, the next, even less intelligent, he wants to know, I don't believe it. Let me actually experience and understand. That is the next, third class. A fourth class person, he cannot, even after experiencing, just like there are many criminals who go to jail and come back to the society, again they commit crimes. They cannot understand, even after going through the whole punishment process and everything, they can still not understand. So what to do with this kind of people? Nothing much can be done. Fourth class people. So therefore, these kinds of differences are there. So a devotee is considered compared to a swan. So sacrifice of the senses means not that sacrifice the sense, okay, oh, the ear is always hearing all Maya, okay, cut off the ears, or make ourselves deaf, or oh, I am speaking always nonsense, make myself dumb, or I am seeing all nonsense, make myself blind. No. Purify. Correct. Just like there is a cataract in the eye, if there is a cataract in the eye, then that cataract has to be removed. Not that I go to the doctor, sir, I have an eye problem. Oh, you have an eye problem? Okay, let me take out the eye, and you will have no more eye problems in your life. Because no more eyes, no? No more eyes, so no more eye problems. So that kind of nonsense surgery is not a doctor, he is a rascal. So doctor means he removes only the cataract. So that is the correct process of rectification or correction. So sacrificing the hearing process is a very important subject, and that is what I want to touch upon in this session. What is the sacrifice of hearing? Now, as in the purport, this verse is used, Hare Namanu Kirtanam. A pure brahmachari engages fully in Hare Namanu Kirtanam, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. He restrains himself from the vibration of material sounds, you see, and his hearing is engaged in the transcendental sound vibration of Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. So when we say pure brahmachari, we are not only talking about the brahmachari in the brahmachari ashram, but anybody who walks this path of spiritual life. It applies to all of them. All of us, what is happening now live is the hearing process. So we are sacrificing our hearing in the way that we are not hearing anything that is promoting our sense gratification, but rather is encouraging us in coming out of sense gratification. So this is Hare Namanu Kirtanam. So this Hare Namanu Kirtanam is explained in the Bhagavatam. You see, 2:1:11 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Etan nirvidyamananam ichhatam akuto bhayam yoginam nirpanirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. So for the karmis, for the jnanis, for the bhaktas, for everybody, this constant chanting of Hare Kṛṣṇa, of the holy name of the Lord, or even this hearing of the subjects of the Lord, hearing and chanting the subjects of the Lord, like Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita that we are discussing now, this is also Hare Namanu Kirtanam. And it's the doubtless, and you see the words exactly that are used, Nirvidyamananam, of those who are completely free from all material desires. This is devotees. Ichhatam, Nirvidyamananam is the jnanis, the ones who want moksha. Ichhata means one who are desirous of all sorts of sense enjoyment. Akuto bhayam, akutah bhayam. Kutah means where. Where? Kuta means where. Akuta means nowhere. Bhayam. Akuto bhayam means nowhere they fear. Nakutaschana bibhyati. Again, na kutaschana. Kutah means again the wherever. So what is that? Swargapavarga narakeshu api tulyartha darshina. Who narayana para sarve nakutaschana bibhyati. So the devotees, okay, let's go there. Because this Akuto Bhayam has to be understood. Why it is called Akuto Bhayam? Devotees are addressed as Akuto Bhayam. They are fearless because of this. Narayana parah sarve nakutascha nabibhyati swargapavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So therefore, they are akuto bhayam. Because let's take another verse, which also solidifies this understanding of why fearlessness. Apannaha samsritim ghoram yannama vivasho grinan tatah sadyo vimuchyeta yad bibheti svayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Kṛṣṇa, which is feared by fear personified. So this is why devotees are akuto bhayam, nakutaschana bibhyati. So the devotees, whereas ichchatam, they are not akuto bhayam, they have fear. Because everybody who wants material desires, who wants to fulfill his material desires, he's always in a fearful state because he doesn't know what is going to come in the future, and then he doesn't know that the plans he's making, whether they will be successful or not. And he has so many hankerings and so many lamentations. And especially because of his hankerings and from the previous experiences of lamentation, he's always in a state of fear. Because we don't know, the future is unknown. Everything is very fearful, uncertain. So this is all bhayam. And nirvidyamananam, they are also fearful. The so-called jnanis, those who want mukti, they are fearful of material existence and they are fearful of activity. Whereas devotees, they don't fear. They don't fear a fall down, because a devotee, by engaging in his senses in the service of Kṛṣṇa fully, he is not running the risk of falling down. Whereas the jnanis or the mokshavadis, when they want liberation, they think that, because I am engaging my senses in this material world, therefore I am implicated in this sinful activity. Whether pious or sinful, everything is sinful in this material world. So, it's sinful activity. So, he is always worried about getting implicated like that, because he has no information of spiritual activity. And therefore, he always stifles his activity and becomes like the monkeys, There are monkeys. And eyes, mouth and ears. So he becomes like monkey. But monkey, as we know, he can stay like this not forever. He can stay like this not forever. He cannot stay like this forever. No. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's it. He will come out. The same thing will happen to the so-called jnanis. Aruhya krichrena param padam tataha patantyadhaha anadrita yushmadangre. Again he falls down. Because monkey. Because not just because he's a monkey, but the soul is always active. The active principle. The soul by nature is active. To not be active is natural for matter, not for the living soul. For the living soul, the symptoms of life are thinking, feeling, willing, acting. These are the symptoms of life. But if we stifle that, fearing every action will cause a reaction, so it's paranoid. It's so-called paranoia. They become paranoid of every action. So they just, I should not do this, I should not do this, I should not do this. I just close everything. Become a stone, suicide. So this is bhayam. So, bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshata syat. Why bhayam comes? Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 37. Bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshata syat ईशादपेतस्य विपर्ययो स्मृतिः तन्माययातो बुध आभजेत्वं भक्त्यैकयेशं गुरुदेवतात्मा. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as the servant of the Lord. And even a jnani, so-called this moksha, he thinks he has attained moksha, vimukta maninas, he only thinks that he has achieved mukti, but he is not on the platform, because he will fall down. Because why? He forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. The karmis also forget, the jnanis also forget. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. This is fear. Therefore, coming back here, Ichchatam akuto bhayam. Etan nirvidyamananam ichchatam akuto bhayam. So, whichever classes one may be, whichever class one may come from, whether karmi, jnani or bhakta, yoginam nirpa nirnitam. Nirnitam means what? Decided truth. Nirnitam, decided truth. What is that? Hare nama anukirtanam. So, whether one is a karmi or jnani or bhakta, the only thing that will give him auspiciousness is Hare nama anukirtanam. And this Hare nama anukirtanam is a very important phrase. Hare means we know of Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa. Nama means we know the holy name. Anukirtanam is something important. Anukirtanam means two things. Anu means always, that means kirtaniya sada harihim. That is one meaning. Another meaning, anu means to follow, anusharanam. That means to follow in kirtan. That means we have to chant. For example, we have so many Vaishnava songs, Acharya songs, and we should sing those songs. We should not invent songs. Especially one who is not a pure devotee, he cannot write in a pure way. There will be many mistakes in such composition. So we should always sing songs which are sung by Vaishnava Acharyas, established pure devotee Vaishnava Acharyas from the Sampradaya, like Narottam Das Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like that. All the Acharyas, they have written so many songs, and we can sing those songs. And chanting, why we are chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa? This is Anukirtanam. We have not invented, oh, let us put together some Hare and Kṛṣṇa in a fancy way and then make it a mantra. No. Kalisantarana Upanishad has this mantra. We are taking from the Upanishads. This is Anukirtanam. And that too pointed out by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And according to the principles of Bhagavatam, Yajñaihi Sankirtana Prayir Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. And Kalisantarana Upanishad especially says this mantra. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, iti shodasakam namnam kalikalmasha nashanam, nata parataropaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. In the whole Vedas, there is no process better in this Kali Yuga than the chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Mahamantra. So this is called Anukirtanam. We have not invented. Like so nowadays, especially in YouTube, there I have seen some kind of bhajans. So just make up some words and then just sing. There is always potency when the holy name is chanted, but we should also chant according to the order, Anukirtanam. What is especially recommended, prescribed medicine, that we have to take. We cannot take, we cannot go to the medical store and say, wow, this is all very nice, colorful medicines. I like that color, I like this, I like that. No. Show the prescription and the what is that? The person there, he will give that particular medicine. So the doctor must prescribe. So there are many mantras, but Hare Namanu Kirtanam, and especially in this Kali Yuga, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the way to go. Now, this is how a brahmachari, and again, reiterating the point, that a brahmachari means brahmacharati iti brahmachari. Any person who is a devotee is actually a brahmachari. By the broad definition. Of course, we have the ashram, brahmachari ashram, a celibate. But in the broad context, any person who who wants to be a devotee, he is a brahmachari. Now, he has to hear pure brahmachari, engages fully in Hare Nama Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. Now, not only the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but also the glories of the Lord. What are the glories of the Lord? First of all, what he spoke, his message, like in Bhagavad Gita, like what we are discussing now, and then again Bhagavatam. This is called Kṛṣṇa Katha. Kṛṣṇa Katha. Any topic about Krishna is called Kṛṣṇa Katha. Katha is usually a story, but it is also used in the sense of topic. So Kṛṣṇa Katha means any topic concerning Krishna. That has to be heard. That is called sacrifice of the hearing process. And there are some nice verses in the Mukundamala Stotra referring to this hearing process, how we should, or let's take first Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. We know this famous verse which we have shown many times about Ambarish Maharaj, right? Now, in these verses 18 through 20 of the 4th chapter of the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shrutim Chakara Chutasat Kathodaye. This is to hear the topics of Krishna. So, it is always good to chant these verses. So, try to follow along. Of course, I will not wait for you to repeat and we will just chant at the same time. Try to chant, because whenever I am chanting these shlokas, you can also practice to chant. So, it will become a practice session for you as well. So, practice like that. So, that's why I actually always take out the Sanskrit, although it takes more time and the class becomes a little lengthy. But I want to stress on the Sanskrit and the chanting so that you also will get used to that. So, please follow along. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayor vachamsi vaikuntha gunanuvarnane karau harer mandiramarjanadisho shrutim chakara chuta satkathodaye mukundalinga laya darshane drisho tadbhritya gatra sparshenga sangamam घ्राणं च तत्पाद सरोज सौरभे श्रीमत्तुलस्या रसनां तदर्पिते पादौ हरेः क्षेत्रपदानुसर्पणे शिरो हृषीकेश पदाभिवन्दने कामं च दास्ये न तु कामकाम्यया यथोत्तमश्लोक जनाश्रयारतिः. So, Ambarish Maharaj is engaging his senses in this way. You see, it is the perfect sacrifice of one's senses, or sacrificing the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. The whole today's verse 426 of Bhagavad Gita is practically demonstrated by Ambarish Maharaj in this verse. How is he sacrificing his senses? Not that he is cutting his senses, cut off the ears, cut off the nose, cut off the tongue, no more senses. That is not sacrifice. And put those things in the fire. There was one actually who was doing like this, Bhasmasura. Vrikasura is also called. So he was actually trying to satisfy Lord Shiva, and he was a demon actually. He wanted a power where he could kill anybody that he likes. So to get that power, he was praying to Lord Shiva, and he was cutting off his flesh from his arms, everything from his legs and everywhere. Finally, he wanted to cut off his own head and put it into the fire. So how stupid! He wanted to actually kill. He wanted to get a power to kill others. For that, he is killing himself. They have no brains. So anyway, he is sacrificing his senses like that in the fire. But when it is said in these verses in 426, sacrifice of the senses, we are not going to do it like the demon did. We are going to do it like the devotee Ambarish Maharaj did. We are not going to do it like Vrikasura. Maharaj Ambarish, you see how he did. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. Shrutim chakara chutasat kathodaye. Shrutim chakara achyuta sat kathodaye. So, Achyuta Katha or Kṛṣṇa Katha is the same thing. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Kṛṣṇa. Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. Now, in the touching of the bodies of the Lord's devotees, there are three ways. So, those who are advanced, we should touch their feet. So, those who are equals, they usually embrace. Of course, not man and woman, that's a bit too much. One who is junior or lower, like a spiritual master, when he touches the disciple, he touches the head and blesses. So there are different ways of touching according to the different category or of devotee. But of course, it should be kept separate, men and women. Otherwise, it will be called molestation. So we should. Actually, one devotee, one person asked me like that. Why, Prabhu? He's saying here he engaged his sense of touching the body of Lord's devotees. Is this not molestation? It's a stupid question, So this is how the touching means the proper way. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, and he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. This is Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So this is Kṛṣṇa consciousness, because all the senses are already sacrificed for the pleasure of the Lord. And when they are done like that, then the senses will actually be satisfied. In this material world, everybody is after sense gratification to satisfy the senses. But the senses will be satisfied when they are employed in the service of Govinda. Govinda is the giver of pleasure to the senses, but not when we seek sense pleasure. Only when we seek Krishna's pleasure, then our senses will actually be satisfied. Sense gratification is the natural tendency, but we have to satisfy the senses of Kṛṣṇa. Then our senses will be satisfied. Whereas people here in this material world, not only people, when I say people, all the souls, in animal body, in plant body, everybody, they want sense gratification without serving Kṛṣṇa, without touching Govinda. Then they cannot have. Then they will be always bewildered. So this is the sacrifice of senses. This is the way one should do it. And there is a nice verse in the 10th canto as well, 80th chapter. You see? Again, the hearing process. Actually, this whole Bhagavatam is full of this glories about hearing and chanting. Konu shrutva sakrit brahman uttama shloka satkathaha Shrutim chakara achyuta satkathodaya. Achyuta satkatha, here is uttama shloka satkatha. Virameta visheshagyo vishannah kama marganaihi. O Brahmana, how could anyone who knows the essence of life and is disgusted with endeavoring for sense gratification give up the transcendental topics of Lord Uttama Shloka after hearing them repeatedly? How can one give up? And next two verses are very important. Savagyaya tasya gunan granite. Try to chant with me. Karau cha tat karma karau manascha Smaredvasantam sthirajangameshu Shrinoti tat punya katha sakarna. Actual speech is that which describes the qualities of the Lord. Real hands are those that work for Him. A true mind is that which always remembers Him dwelling within everything moving and non-moving, and actual ears are those that listen to sanctifying topics about Him. Shirastu tasyo bhayalingamanamet tadeva yat pashyati tadhi chakshuh angani vishnor athatak jananam padodakam yani bhajanti nityam. An actual head is one that bows down to the Lord in His manifestations among the moving and non-moving creatures. Real eyes are those that see only the Lord, and actual limbs are those which regularly honor the water that has bathed the lotus feet or those of His devotees. This is the real function of all these organs of our body, because they are His owners. Right? What is a auto part? You know what's auto part? Parts of an automobile. When is it called a part of an automobile? Spare parts. So a part is when it's actually, attached to the whole and it cooperates with the whole working of the car machine. When it does not, then it's just it's not doing any productive work. So our head, all our organs are Krishna's property and they are meant for His satisfaction, but we are falsely thinking that we are the owner of these senses and body, and we try to use it for our sense gratification. And therefore it is, if I take a car part and I play with it like a toy, or I do something else with it, just some random thing, then that is not a spare part. That's just like some chunk of metal which I am just using. Only when it is in the car, then it is working as a part of the automobile, the car. So similarly, an actual head, actual ears, everything is when it is used in the service of the Lord. Now the negative instruction on this, when it is not an actual head, when it is not actual ears, not actual limbs, not actual eyes, and what else? Not actual speech, not actual mind. When? That is described here, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter. Two 3:20 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the opposite. Bilebatoru krama vikramanye nashrinvatah karnapute narasya jihvasati dar durike vasuta nachopagayat yurugaya gatha. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes. Because they are not actual ears. They are not actual ears. Why? The ear holes of a snake, the snake actually cannot hear. The snake cannot hear. It's just a show. And a tongue like the tongue of a frog. For those who don't hear the messages of Krishna, his ears are like the ear holes of a snake, which means no ears. And the tongue like a frog, that of a frog. Frog has a very long tongue. But what is it doing? Not glorifying the Lord. Brak, 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 brak. So what is it doing by that? And Prabhupada used to make the sound kokoroko, kokoroko. So what it does, it invites the snake. But how does the snake hear the sound of the frog when a snake doesn't have ears? Of course, the thing is that the snake hears through the skin, the vibration, the sound vibration it can catch. Very subtle vibration it can catch. So by that, and it follows that path of that vibration, and therefore it reaches the frog and eats the frog. So by croaking like a frog or by speaking nonsense in this world, anything other than Kṛṣṇa is nonsense. So by talking like that, we are inviting death. Look at this. 2:3:17. Just 3 verses prior. Ayur harati vaipumsam udyannastam chayannasau tasyarte yat kshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. So death is coming, and by rising and setting, we are talking and talking, every day, like a frog, and just we are inviting the snake of death. And let's see another instructive verse in this regard of a snake, how it comes and eats us. 4:24:66. प्रमत्तमुच्चैरिति कृत्य चिन्तया प्रवृद्धलोभं विषयेषु लालसं त्वमप्रमत्तः सहसाभिपद्यत्से क्षुल्लेलिहानो हिरिवाकुमन्तकः त्वमप्रमत्तः सहसाभिपद्यसे. This is how the Lord, let's see what is the translation. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your Lordship is always alert, and in due course of time you strike him just like a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. See? So, mrityu sarva haraschaham. Krishna says, I am death and I take away everything from you. So death comes and we all have to face it, right? So death is a representation of Krishna. Hara, mrityu sarva harascha aham. Hara means to. That's why snake is called Hari sometimes. Lion is called Hari. Tiger, cheetah are called Hari because they grab, they steal the food. So that's why they are called Hari sometimes. But the real Hari, Krishna, he is called Hari because he takes away all our karma. And also, for those who don't want to give up their karma and they want to be karmis, he will take away everything from them in the form of death. So, so this is the thing. If we don't use our senses in the service of the Lord, hearing and chanting, then we are like snakes and frogs. In the previous verse, we talked about what are the actual senses in 10th canto, 80th chapter, 3 and 4 verses. Now, what are not actual human senses? Human senses are meant for activity in Krishna consciousness, just like Ambarish Maharaj. That is proper use of human senses. But if we don't use like that, then we are compared to all these stupid animals. And let's take another animal actually. You see this. Shvavidvarahoshtrakharaih samstutah purushah pashuh nayat karnapathopeto jatunama gadagrajah. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses, 4 kinds of animals are here. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. You see? Actually, Gadagraja. Why Krishna is called Gadagraja? There was he had a stepbrother who was one of Vasudev's wife's son called Gada. Let's see. Just digressing from the topic, but just. Here. 10:47:40. Gadagraja Kṛṣṇa, the elder brother of Gada. Gentle Uddhava is the elder brother of Gada. Oh. The first son of Devarakshita. You see, this is the name Gadagraja indicates Kṛṣṇa, the elder brother, Agraja of Gada, the first son of Devarakshita. She was a sister of Devaki's who was also married to Vasudeva. The gopis, by addressing Kṛṣṇa in this way, indicate that he now thinks of himself mostly as the son of Devaki, an implication being that his connection with Vrindavana has now slackened. So anyway, this is how Gadagraja, so is a first son of Devarakshita, another wife of Vasudeva. So that Gada was younger to Kṛṣṇa. That's why it's called Gadagraja. Anyway, Na yat karna pathopeto. Na yat karna pathopeto. Karna means ears. Na yat karna pathopeto. Jatu nama Gadagraja. Nama means the holy name. Today we are talking about the sacrifice of hearing. Hare namanu kirtanam. Always chanting and hearing the holy name. But here, na yat karna pathopeto. Never at any time. You see? Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa, the deliverer from evils. See, there are 4 animals here, and in the next verse we saw 2 animals, the snakes and frog. How we are compared to all kinds of animals, and another place in 10th canto, Gokharaha, cow and ass, and here 2:3:21. Bharah param patta kirita jushtam apyuttamangam nanamen mukundam shavau karau no kurute sapariyam harer lasat kanchana kankanauva. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden, because heavy-headed. You got too much ego, no? Even though it may have a silk turban and everything, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead who can award mukti, freedom. These are not just figurative things, but actually it's a fact. With our head, with our so-called big brains, what are we doing? We are scheming so many plans that continue our materialistic existence, and that is actually the heavy burden here. We are carrying the burden of material existence because of this head. Big plan maker. What are we doing with this head? Making nonsense plans and that way continuing our material existence. This is actually a heavy burden unless it bows down to Kṛṣṇa. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam namaskuru means bow down your head to me. Kṛṣṇa is saying. Mam namaskuru. Then yes, this whole material, the burden of material existence can be thrown away. But this head, the head weight, they say head weight. In India they say like that, I don't know if other parts of the world. Head weight means one who has too much ego. Oh, he has too much head weight. Now, there is actually head weight. Too much ego we have. False ego. We think we are the big doer. And it is actually a burden. This head is a burden because it carries us into this material life. We are carrying the whole burden of material existence with this. If not bowed down before the personality of Godhead who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hare. See how they are. Our big, bodily parts are compared like this to animals, to all this kind of dead body, heavy burden. This is what happens. And if we are very proud, no, how you can say like that? I have full all organs I have a good long life with medical research where I will expand my life even longer. Then here it is said, Tarava kim na jivanti. Do the trees not live a long life? Huh? Tarava means Taravaha means trees. Tarava kim na jivanti? Huh? They are living for thousands of years. What is your stupid medical research? Maybe increase the lifespan over 10 years on an average. What is that 10 years compared to thousands of years? So if you think that is advancement, then the trees are more advanced than you. That is this verse. This is a challenge to the materialists. Tarva kim na jivanti? Then if the person, actually Prabhupada explains this very nicely, very humorously in a lecture. Then if somebody says, no, okay, fine, maybe the trees live long, but I can breathe. Trees cannot breathe. Actually, trees also can breathe. They breathe carbon dioxide in and oxygen out. Because of that only we are able to take some oxygen. You cut out the trees, we will have a breathing problem. Okay, even though you cannot see it. Okay, you cannot see the breathing of the trees, like the tree is not like that. So, okay, if you think that is advancement, then the next line, Bhastra kimna shvasantyuta. The bellows of the blacksmith. You know bellows of a blacksmith? Bellow is, I don't know, let me see if I can find a picture. I think some of you understand what it is, but some of you may not understand. Okay, here we go. It's a small picture. Wait 1 second. I'll just get it for you. This is also a small picture, but probably works. Okay, I will just. Oh, sorry. So you see this? So with that, the two handles, you hold it and then do that, and then from that nozzle up there, in the metal nozzle, the air comes out, and on the side you see there are 3 holes there. The air comes in through that and then exhales through that nozzle there. So this they do for the what is it called? Cooling the metal. In the metallurgy, the blacksmith, he uses the bhastra, the bellows. In fact, a version of this is also in the harmonium, in the harmonium musical instrument. That thing when we, do that is actually the bellows. We are taking in air, so that when the air goes through those keys and then according to the openings of the keys, the sound comes. So, bhastra kimna swasantuta. You think you are very advanced because of breathing, then the bellows of the blacksmith, which are dead things, they are also breathing. Are you very different from that? Don't think you are very different because very advanced because you are breathing. Because your lifespan has increased, the average lifespan of human being is increased because of some medical research. No, trees are better than you, the bellows of a blacksmith is better than you, more breathing it is doing. Then next, no, I can eat. The tree cannot eat, or the bellows of blacksmith cannot eat nice food. I can eat. That's why I am advanced. If one argues like that, first of all, the trees eat, but they are called padapa. Padapa means they eat from the legs. We eat from the mouth, they eat from the legs. But yeah, you may say they are not tasty, but you may say that food is not tasty from the ground. Fine, but then how the mango or the vegetables which have so much taste are coming out from the trees? There is some taste. The taste is being extracted from the ground only. The ingredients are the same. How come the taste is coming? From where it is coming? It doesn't come from somewhere else. It comes from these ingredients only. That means there is taste. Just that the tree knows how to extract that particular taste, but we don't know. And we just eat from the tree and blame the tree. Oh, if tree is not advanced. Yeah, it is not as high consciousness as human being, but still, if we say na khadanti, I can eat, or na mehanti, the trees cannot have sex, or the what is that? The bellows of a blacksmith cannot have sex. I can have, although therefore I am more advanced. Now what do you want to say? Then it is said, Kim grame pashavo pare. I mean, all around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? So how are we different just because we have these things? And our modern civilization is based on these things only. How to just increase our sense gratification. Meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. This is the way of life now in Kali Yuga. Look at how much they have degraded animal or trees or bellows of a blacksmith or dog, hog, camel, ass, or snakes and frogs, or cow and ass, gokhara. So in this way, even other animals we are compared to, like a moth, like a fish, like a deer, like a goat. So many animals we are compared to in the Bhagavatam. Dvipada pashu, two-legged animals we are, if we are not engaging in Krishna service. Therefore, actual head, actual ears, actual eyes, these are mentioned like that. Now, we have seen this one. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hare. Next. Barhayite te nayane naranam lingani vishnor nanirikshato ye padau nirnamto druma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryo. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc. That means if we don't use our eyes to see Krishna, are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. Plumes means the feather of the peacock. The peacock feather also has eye-like shape, in the center. Those are also called eyes of the peacock, like plumes of the peacock. Printed on the plumes of the peacock. So, but those eyes can't see. They may look like eyes, but they can't see. So, we are actually blind if we cannot see Krishna. So, they are not real eyes. They are just printed, this fake eyes. In that, verse 1083 and 4, we see real eyes. And Ambarish Maharaj showed what the real activity of the eye is. To see the Lord. And here it is said, those which do not see the Lord, they are like those eyes that are printed on the plumes of a peacock. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. The tree trunks are also legs. The tree has, one leg. Ekapada. We are Dvipada. They are Ekapada. The trees are called Ekapada because they have only one leg. And we are called two-legged. And then there are four-legged. There are six-legged, eight-legged. And multi-legged, like the centipede or the millipede, 1,000 legs. So, not that one has more legs and more advanced. No. In fact, multi-legged and like 100 legs and 1,000 legs, they are actually very, very low class, insects. Anyway, the legs which do not move to the holy places are like tree trunks, because tree trunks don't move. And as I have already explained this once, maybe months ago, why? Because the temple or a holy place of pilgrimage of the Lord is the embassy of the spiritual world actually. Vrindavan in India, on earth, it's an embassy of the Goloka Vrindavan. And anywhere there is Krishna consciousness, that is a embassy of Vrindavan. The temple, the Hare Krishna temple, is a embassy of Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan. So that is actually a spiritual place. So when we go from the material world to the temple, spiritual place, then there is some movement. But within the material world, how much ever we move, we are just in the same place. Just like if inside the house you may walk so much, but you have not moved out of the house, you have not stepped out of the house. See, the distance is nothing. Distance is calculated if there is some real movement. If you have gone from home to office or home to somewhere else, that is called some distance. But within the home, I am just walking and walking and walking round and round. That is not counted as traveling somewhere. So this material world is like that. And when we come to the temple, you are actually traveling to the spiritual world. Just like the other example is the airport. Now, from Singapore to Delhi, I have to travel. Within the Singapore, how much ever I travel, I am still situated at the same distance from Delhi. Same distance. But when I actually take the plane, then yes, I go nearer to Delhi. I must go to the airport, and from airport I must take the plane. Then it is actually getting nearer. So that is real travel. So in the material world, how much ever we move, we are the same distance away from the spiritual world. And when we actually go to the temple, which is an embassy of the spiritual world, we have actually moved from material world to spiritual world, which is like very, very far otherwise. So that is actual movement. So otherwise we are like, tree trunks. Actually tree trunks, if you go below the roots actually move. Not like they move here and there like that, but they grow and grow, and that's why sometimes the roads sometimes are broken, or some cement is broken, wall is broken, because the roots are just expanding and then breaking the structures. So that is also movement. But by that movement, what is happening? The tree's stability in standing still is increasing. By such network of attachment, the tree is just ensuring the fact that it cannot move, and whatever happens, it will not move. It just wants that. The tree wants that. That let me just get nutrients also, and at the same time expand. Like they say in material world, networking. They want to network. This is the tree also doing the network, increasing the network in the roots, and by doing that, they are just making themselves fixed there. So we are also doing like that in the material world. We are trying to increase our network so that we remain fixed in this material world. We are, fixed means of course we will take body after body, but we are still in the material world. We are not moving out of this material world. Like that, therefore, the legs which do not move to the holy places. And when we actually move to the holy places, we have to go and hear from the sadhus there. And if we don't do that, if we just go to the holy place and take bath and come back without seeing the sadhus, without hearing from them, then that is also animal. That verse is also there. Srimad Bhagavatam 1084:13. We're talking about the sacrifice of the senses now. That is topic today's verse. So that's what we're talking about. Yasyatma buddhihi kunapetri dhatuke svadhihi kalatradishu bhauma ijyadhihi yattirtha buddhihi salilena karhichit janeshva bhigneshu sa eva gokharaham. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile and air. So the one who considers the body to be the self. Number one. Number two, one who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own. Number two. Number three, who thinks an earthen image. This is a concocted image, not a deity form, an authorized form given by Kṛṣṇa. Deity worship is actually given by Kṛṣṇa himself. Kṛṣṇa spoke to Uddhava, the whole deity worship process. So that is not just an ordinary earthen image, but other than that, is usually earthen image. An earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable. One who considers like that. Number three. Then, number four. One who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there. That means they go to some holy place and then take a bath on the holy river. that they think is actual going to the holy place. That is one of the items. We are not denying, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is to actually go and meet the sadhus there. Because why to holy place? Because that is where you will find a greater concentration of sadhus. There is a good chance you can meet some sadhu there. Of course, in Kali Yuga, many people just take drugs and ganja and beg for money. But therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement has brought the holy place of pilgrimage all over the world. That is Prabhupada's contribution to the world. He has, because people don't know that one should go to the pilgrimage and nothing they know. So let the pilgrimage come to the people. So that is the Śrīla Prabhupada's contribution. So now, one who goes to the place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, who sees the place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with or feels kinship with, worships or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. So these kinds of people, this list, such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. So that means even if you go to pilgrimage, now in the previous verse, one who does not go to a place of pilgrimage, he is like the tree trunk. But who goes to a place of pilgrimage and does not take advantage of sadhus and hears again Hare Namanukirtanam, then is again cow and ass. Again is classified as animal. Because animals can move, not like tree trunks. They can move, they can go to the holy place, but they can't understand Bhagavad Gita, they can't hear. So, Druma Janma Bhajo, this is the not good utilization of senses, opposite of the other one, 1083 and 4. Now, similar verses are there in Mukundamala Stotra. Let's go to some of those verses. Or before that, let's go to this. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.2. This is very similar, the starting word is very similar to the today's verse 426. Let's go to 426. Recap. Today's verse 426. श्रोत्रादीनीन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्य इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति. श्रोत्रादीनि इन्द्रियाणि. Now, श्रोतव्यादीनि राजेन्द्र. श्रोतव्यादीनि राजेन्द्र नृणां सन्ति सहस्रशः अपश्यतामात्मतत्त्वं गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम्. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of the ultimate truth, leave many subject matters for hearing in human society. They have many things to hear and they will leave more topics for people to hear, but none of them actually will benefit from such topics. They may become productive materialists, but that's like a rat in a hamster wheel. You know the hamster wheel? The hamster wheel is like, the rat when he goes, have you seen? Some know what is hamster wheel. Some may not know. Let's see if I can find some illustration. Hamster wheel. I wonder. This is good. Okay. Let's change. Okay, here we go. You see this? I don't know if you can get what's going on there. This is a rat, a hamster. He's in that wheel, he's trying to run. But the more he tries to run, he's just there. This is called a hamster wheel. Just to keep some people have these rodents as pets. So they keep this hamster wheel for the hamster to play with. So he just likes doing this. So the wheel will just rotate like that. He will go into the wheel and then he'll run. He'll run and run and run. As much as he runs, that much he will just go. You see? I hope you can see that. It's a very low resolution GIF, but that's a hamster wheel. So how much ever we move here, it's like a hamster wheel in this material world. We're not going anywhere. So those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of the Absolute Truth, leave many subject matters for hearing in human society, and it matters and it helps no one. So these productive materialists, they try to do things efficiently in this material world, get their work done efficiently, but they are trying to do something efficiently which should not even be done in the first place. That's the problem. So they don't know the actual priorities of life. They don't know the aim of life. Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnu. So how much ever seemingly productive they may be, they are all unproductive. They are like the productivity of the rodent, the hamster. Very fast, very fast. But where is he going? Nowhere. So we don't want to be hamster. That's another animal in the list, a hamster. So these are what we will be compared to if we don't make use of our human life and become Krishna conscious. And let's look at the process of hearing. Okay, let's go to Mukundamala first and then come back to Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the Mukundamala Stotra, there is this verse which is 38th verse. आश्चर्यमेतद्धि मनुष्यलोके सुधां परित्यज्य विषं पिबन्ति नामानि नारायणगोचराणि त्यक्त्वान्यवाचः कुहकाः पठन्ति. The greatest wonder in human society is this. People are so incorrigible that they reject the life-giving nectar of Lord Narayana's names and instead drink poison by speaking everything else. So if we don't do the sacrifice of our senses in using for Krishna's service, we are just drinking poison. Now when we use this word sacrifice is always understood to be giving up something, or it is usually understood as a deprivation of the senses. Like today's verse is about sacrificing our senses or our sense objects. It's not about depriving our senses. So we are not into deprivation, but we are actually giving more facility for the senses to enjoy a much greater happiness in Krishna's service. This is rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The higher taste, once one gets the higher taste, then yes, he can give up. These yajna he can easily perform. There has to be a higher activity, a higher pleasurable activity than ordinary sense gratification. If you ask anybody to give up your meat eating and illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, nobody will give up because they find happiness there. As much as that is like a happiness of a pig, but that's how they find happiness. So unless they are given something higher, because the activity of the senses cannot stop. So the only process is to give the senses a higher taste, and that's how you can stop this. So we have to take the life-giving nectar of Narayana's names or Krishna's names, but human society is very unfortunate. They want to speak everything other than Krishna. You talk about God, they don't talk about God, it's like too boring. They think like that. Because their idea of God or God-centered life means deprive the senses. But it is the complete opposite. We engage the senses even more than the materialists, but we are never going into depression. We are never implicated. We are never, suffering because of that. In fact, one is more and more pleasurable. He becomes more and more happy. Now, let's look at this one. Another verse in the Mukundamala Stotram. Tattvam bruvāṇāni param parastān madhuksharantīva mudavahani pravartaya pranjalirasmi jihve namani narayana gocharani. My dear tongue, I stand before you with joined palms and beg you to recite the names of Lord Narayana. These names describing the Supreme Absolute Truth bring great pleasure as if exuding honey. So, one is praying to the tongue. The tongue is the most difficult. Taramadhya jihvati lobhamay sudurmati. The toughest sense to control is the tongue. So, therefore, praying to the tongue, please you chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, next one. This is also Namami Narayana Pada Pankajam Karomi Narayana Pujanam Sada Vadami Narayana Nama Nirmalam Smarami Narayana Tattvam Avyayam. At every moment I bow down to the lotus feet of Narayana, I perform worship to Narayana, I recite the pure name of Narayana, and I reflect on the infallible truth of Narayana. And apart from this, we have 19, which is this. Yat Kṛṣṇa pranipata dhuli dhavalam tadvarshma tadvaishiras te netre tamasojjhite suruchire yabhyam harir drishyate sa buddhir vimalendu shankha dhavala ya madhavadhyayini sa jihvamritavarshini pratipadam ya stauti narayanam. That head is the loftiest, which is white with dust from bowing down to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Those eyes are the most beautiful, which darkness has abandoned after they have seen Lord Hare. That intelligence is spotless, like the white glow of the moon or a conch shell, which concentrates on Lord Madhava, and that tongue rains down nectar which constantly glorifies Lord Narayana. Therefore, he orders his senses. Jihve kirtaya keshavam muraripum cheto bhaja Śrīdharam panidvandva samarchaya achyuta katha Śrotradvayatvam shrinu Kṛṣṇam lokaya lochanadvaya Hare gacchangri yugmalayam jighragrana mukunda pada tulasim murdhanna madhokshajam. O tongue, praise the glories of Lord Keshava. O mind, worship the enemy of Mura. O hands, serve the Lord of Shri or Lakshmi. O ears, hear the topics of Achyuta. O eyes, gaze upon Lord Sri Krishna. O feet, go to the temple of Lord Hare. O nose, smell the tulsi buds on Lord Mukunda's feet. O head, bow down to Lord Adhokshaja. And we have a similar verse, 34th. Chetaschintaya kirtaya swarasane namri bhavatvam shiro hastavanjali samputam rachayatam vandasva dirgham vapu atman samshraya pundarikanayanam nagachalendra sthitam dhanyam punyatamam tadeva paramam daivam hi satsiddhaye. O mind, think of the lotus-eyed Lord who reclines on the mountain like serpent Ananta. O tongue, glorify him. O head, bow down to him. O hands, join your palms in supplication to him. O body, offer outstretched obeisances to him. O heart, take full shelter of him. That Supreme Lord is the topmost deity. It is He alone who is all auspicious and supremely purifying. He alone who awards eternal perfection. So in this way, one has to engage, and especially the tongue. In Kali Yuga, the tongue. Shrimannama procha narayanakyam kena prapurvanchitam papinopi hanah purvam vak pravrittana tasmims tena praptam garbhavasadi dukkham. What person, even if most sinful, has ever said aloud the blessed name Narayana and failed to fulfill his desires? But we, alas, never used our power of speech in that way, and so we had to suffer such miseries as living in a womb. We should now chant at least. Alam alam alameka Praninam patakanam nirasana vishayeya Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇeti vāni yadi bhavati mukunde bhaktirananda sandra karatala kalita sa moksha samrajya lakshmi. By themselves, the word Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa are sufficient to drive away the sins of all living beings. Anyone who possesses devotion for Lord Mukunda, that is densely imbued with ecstasy, holds in the palms of his hands the gifts of liberation, worldly influence and wealth. So, alright. So, this is how we have to sacrifice the hearing process. Now, we will go to briefly this part about the what happens with hearing. One to 17, all through 1 to 21. Shrinvatam svakatha Kṛṣṇah punya shravana kirtanah hridyantah sthohi abhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Sri Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages. This is a sacrifice of hearing, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. This is Anukirtanam, Anushravanam. We have to hear from the right source, we have to chant after the right source. That means we have to follow the process given by the acharyas. So, what happens then? The Supreme Lord cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of such a devotee. Next, what happens after that? Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishthiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Now, the dirty things in the heart, all that is troublesome to the heart, is almost completely destroyed. Not completely. It only will be completely destroyed when one attains to the his original relationship with Kṛṣṇa. Once he realizes that, that's when his entire thing is terminated. His material life, all the dirty things in the heart are completely cleansed. At this point, almost completely means about, Prabhupada said 75%. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in great detail, and there are 2 videos that Nimanitaya Prabhu has done on this. I think Madhurya Kadambini or something, there is one book. He explains the whole process of this advancement of the devotee, and he goes into very, very detailed and technical. Very nice, 2 videos. It's called Krishna Katha playlist. Maybe the moderator can put a link to that playlist, so you can watch those 2 half-an-hour videos each. So very nicely explained there. So, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as irrevocable. So the dirty things in the heart subside, and then the loving devotional service to Kṛṣṇa becomes established in the heart. All by what? Shrinvatam svakatha Kṛṣṇah, by hearing process. Now, next, tada rajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayascha ye cheta etairana vidham sthitam sattve prasidati. Tada, at that time, as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of the nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Sthitam sattve prasidati, becomes fully satisfied. And next, evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Evam prasanna manaso, enlivened, fully happy, fully joyful, and he gets positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead at this stage. Then भिद्यते हृदय ग्रंथिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Of course, master means master of his senses, and that only is possible if one is a servant of Krishna. So this is the process of sacrifice of hearing, especially. And once you sacrifice the hearing process and the chanting process, that means hear only about Krishna and chant only about Krishna, and then the rest of the things will follow. The rest of the body parts will follow. Why? Because it depends on all depends on our conviction. We do things based on our convictions about life. So that conviction has to be transferred to Krishna consciousness. We have to be convinced of Krishna consciousness. And how will we be convinced about Krishna consciousness? When we hear from the authorized sources submissively, then we will be convinced. And with that conviction, we can then employ all our senses in service of Krishna. But if we are not convinced, then we will not employ our senses in service of Krishna, and everything will just go. The sacrifice cannot be performed, therefore, if we do not have sufficient knowledge about Krishna. And that knowledge we will get by devotional service of hearing and chanting from the authorized sources. We should not speculate on these things. We should hear from the right source. And if we hear from the right source, as we know, there is this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 26th verse. Anye tvevam ajanantah shrutvanyebhya upasate tepi chati tarantyeva mrityum shrutiparayanaah. Inclined to the process of hearing. Shrutva, by hearing. Upasate, begin to worship. So they begin to worship after hearing. So again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. They may not be expert pandits or something, but just by hearing from others, they also imbibe this quality of serving Him, and they want to serve Him. And that, because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death, even though they are not very advanced in the study of the scriptures and analyzing it all. But if they just lend an ear to the topics of Krishna from authorized devotees, they can also advance just by this hearing process. Of course, that advancement means they begin to worship the Supreme Person. That means all the other things follow. Worship means not only like that, do something and like that something and then Govinda, Govinda and then go. That's not only worship. Worship means our entire bodily activities, our entire life activities should be molded in such a way that every action is devoted to the Krishna with all our faculties of action. (11 to 36 of Srimad Bhagavatam). Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana vanusruta svabhavat karoti yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayetat. In accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life, whatever one does with body, words, mind, senses, intelligence or purified consciousness, one should offer to the Supreme, thinking, this is for the pleasure of Lord Narayana. This is called worship. This is called worship. So our whole life's activities should be to glorify the Lord, and that will only happen if we first of all hear. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sanctioned this as a very important factor in self-realization. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthitah Shrutigatam tanuvan manobhirye prayashojita jitopyasitai strilokyam. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, that means, especially in this Kali Yuga, people are not trained to become brahmacharis, and after grahasthas go to vanaprastha and sannyas. But even if they can't move about in these different social stages or social or spiritual stages, not social, spiritual stages, if they cannot move, it doesn't matter. While remaining situated in their established social positions wherever they are, if they just throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Just by hearing and dedicating one's life to such topics. And when we say dedicating our life, means to follow in the process, to all the activity, like Ambarish Maharaj. It all starts with hearing and then everything else. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana vanushrita svabhavat karoti yadyat sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti samarpayet. Yad karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadati yad tapasyasi kaunteyat tat kurushva madarpanam. Same thing. This is a sacrifice of our senses. By that process, one can conquer the Lord, who is otherwise unconquerable. Just by sitting in our own established social position, just by hearing. Just how powerful is the hearing process, the sacrifice of hearing. That is what we are trying to impress upon you in this session. So, please take this hearing process very seriously, and one will become very easily Kṛṣṇa conscious and make his life perfect and go back home, back to Godhead. So, with that, I would like to end this. Actually, I wanted to mention this thing that, that Acharya, he shows how to do it. Like, for example, Ambarish Maharaj, or you see Prabhupāda, they are teaching, they are saying these things, and they are also acting on that platform. Brahmanishtham, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham. He has heard and he is following. It always reminds me of this doctor that I used to go in my childhood. My father used to take me there. So, his name was called Dr. Pratinidhi. I still remember his name. And he was a doctor, and any ailments or whatever it is, just we used to go to him. And he, being a doctor, he was a chain smoker. Just a chain smoker. He just can't stop smoking. What kind of a doctor is that? That's not an acharya. If he is a doctor, he must teach others how to be healthy and get rid of their this thing. But he himself doesn't do anything. He just completely chain smoker. So we have to therefore learn this whole process from the authorized devotees. And the Acharya shows us by teaching. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life is that. He is Kṛṣṇa himself, but he came as Acharya to teach us by personal example how to do all these things, especially the sacrifice of hearing. So I'd like to stop here. Any questions? So, what is that? Madhya 2.31. Topics about Krishna are like waves of nectar. If such nectar does not enter one's ear, the ear is no better than the whole of a damaged conch shell. Such an ear is created for no purpose. This is a nice verse. Okay, let's go. CC Madhya 2.31. कृष्णेर मधुरवाणी अमृतेर तरंगिणी तार प्रवेश नाही जे श्रवणे काणाकड़ी छिद्र सम जानिह से श्रवण तार जन्म होयले अकारणे. Topics about Krishna are like waves of nectar. If such nectar does not enter one's ear, the ear is no better than the whole of a damaged conch shell. Kind of a comparison. Such an ear is created for no purpose. Next, first question by Vijay Sharma Prabhu. Is the Mukundamala Stotra also one of the books given by Śrīla Prabhupāda? So actually Śrīla Prabhupāda wanted to translate the Mukundamala Stotra. He actually translated the first 6 shlokas of Mukundamala Stotra, but he did not continue it, the whole translation. So there are a total of 53 shlokas in the Mukundamala Stotra. So he translated the first 6 and then he did not translate the rest, and his disciples translated later on. That is the Mukundamala. And in fact, sometimes he also quoted from like 33rd verse of the Mukundamala Stotra. Prabhupada always chants every morning when he wakes up. Kṛṣṇa tvadiya pada pankaja panjarantam adyaiva me vishatu manasa raja hamsaha prana prayana samaye kaphavata pittaihi kantavarodhana vidho smaranam kutaste. When he wakes up in the morning, he always chants this verse. O Lord Krishna, at this moment let the royal swan of my mind enter the tangled stems of the lotus of your feet. How will it be possible for me to remember you at the time of death when my throat will be choked up with mucus, bile and air? So he is actually one of the Alvars, King Kulashekar, and in fact the 4th and 5th verses Śrīla Prabhupada actually also quoted in a purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita of the Mukundamala Stotra. So yeah, that is that. Then Vanajakshi Mataji, Prabhuji, if you want us to increase our hearing yajna, then kindly hold the classes on all the days of the week. Or else, na Prabhuji, our Shabda yajna increase. So you can reading Prabhupada's books is also hearing yajna. So you can always read Prabhupada's books. You can listen to Prabhupada's lectures on that, on the days when we are not doing it. There's enough material to to keep yourself hearing always. Who wouldn't like to do this? But other services also have to be done. So you please, you can always listen to Prabhupada's lectures. You can read his books, and we have past recordings of previous classes from 3 years back all the way until now. You can maybe watch them. Like that. Comment from Vijayanti Reddy. Seek to study Mukundamala from you, Prabhuji. Oh, yeah, actually it will be a nice series of Mukundamala Stotra. It's very nice, very, very nice prayers by King Kulashekar. So, yeah, this is all in the plans actually. I want to do all these things. Brahma Samhita is one more, Mukundamala Stotra, Kunti Stuti, Bhishma Stuti, Gajendra Stuti, so many stutis are there. Even Shukadeva Goswami's some verses, very nice verses in the 2nd canto, and then Kapiladev's teachings, Devahuti prayers, then we have Rishabdev's teachings, 5th canto, then we have 6th canto is where Chitraketu, what is the Vritasura, yeah, his prayers. many things are there in 6th canto as well. 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj, we have actually kind of covered it, but we can actually do the entire 7th canto 9th chapter, 42 verses of prayers, Prahlad Stuti. That is very nice. Each of those verses is very, very deep, so they are also worth studying. Then, in fact, prayers, not only prayers, even teachings of Prahlad in 5th chapter of 7th canto, 6th chapter of 7th canto. And then we have 8th canto Gajendra Moksha, Gajendra Stuti, and then we have many things. Even in 9th canto we have nice verses in the 19th chapter. 10th canto we have Uddhava Gita, the whole Uddhava Gita, many chapters, Uddhava Gita, very advanced. And then 11th, actually the prayers of the personified Vedas is also very, very important. And the Garbha Stuti prayers of the, in the 10th canto all these are there. And there is Gopi Gita, there is Brahmara Gita, there is the love letter of Rukmini to Kṛṣṇa, which is very nice as well. That is another nice series. And there is that is in the, I think, 52nd chapter of the 10th canto. And then we have prayers of the personified Vedas. We have in the 11th canto Ayala Gita, we have Uddhava Gita of course, and then we have many things in the 11th canto actually. And then we have 12th canto, the symptoms of Kali, and then all these things. Many things, never ending, Time only we don't have enough. We will try our best to do all these things. Alright, so yeah, on Mukundamala Stotra there is a video that I did on the reciting the shlokas. Maybe you can watch that first, but we will do classes on this as well. Alright, so thank you very much. Today surprisingly almost no questions, only 1, 2, 3 maybe. So we will stop here. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Kṛṣṇa.